Hi, this is my favored way to cut a mango demo. First thing I do is I like to take the little tip off. And then I find, because the mango is an oval shape if you look at it this way, so you can find where the pit's going to be, the wide part of the pit. So I take my knife, I just hold the mango up, and some people like to also, you can cut off the bottom a little bit to get a more sturdy base. And then I take the knife and I cut as close to the center as I can, and actually this one you see I didn't even hit the pit. So I'm going to go a little bit closer on the next side, and I know I'm going to hit the pit, and I kind of end up edging around. You can see how I'm edging around, and you can see now the pit in the middle there. I'm going to set this to the side for a moment, and the next thing I like to do is I just cut the extra wide little bits off. I cut just thin little strips off, and you'll see why in a minute. And I set these to the side. Then I generally make 3 cuts. It depends on how big the mango is and how much flesh I was able to get off of it. Now these are great because it's very easy then to put this to the side. And then what I do is I just make a little cut here right towards the end. And I'm cutting, but I'm kind of sawing it. This mango is very soft, so I'm not having to saw. But I saw up and down a little bit if I'm afraid that I'll go through the skin. And I just trace the edge of the skin, trying to get as much of the flesh off as possible. And then what I can do is, if I've got a little bit there, I just slice very thinly off. And I set this aside. I can actually make nice cubes out of it later. This is the part I really like because I hate wasting any of the mango flesh. So what I like to do is I take this knife, which is a perfect length for the mango. You can see it can go all the way through the width of the mango. But then I take it and it's almost like skinning fish or something. That because it's very flexible and thin, I put the tip on the end of the cutting board and I get it as close as I can to the board, and I just slice through. Now in this case, you can see it's a little bit green, but I like those green bits. It's actually quite tasty. I like to snack on these when I'm making these nice cubes for family and friends, but I can also put them in a smoothie. I start about halfway down, you can see, and then I just turn around and I get the other bit. And again, one of the advantages of doing this is that I get almost all of the flesh off the skin, so it's very efficient. And I'm never putting the knife towards me like some people like to hold these and move towards. I really hate that because unless your knife is incredibly sharp, which I do prefer to keep a sharp knife, or you're incredibly dexterous or used to knife work, I just don't recommend ever slicing towards you unless you're really certain what you're doing. So I always try to slice away from myself. So then I'll do that to each of these, and you can see I sliced off the edge because it made it just a little bit easier for me to do this cutting around. And I'm just keeping the tip of the knife on the board and cutting into here. But you can see there's still quite a bit of flesh here, but I can get some nice cubes out of this. Do it again. And then turn it around and do that again. You can see it just skims right off, and I set those aside. Now what I do then with the pit, and even with this piece that I cut off, I can cut it in half like this, the longest way. And I can kind of go in, but because this knife is so flexible, I can just turn it like that and get all of the flesh, mango flesh, off of that little bit. And then I kind of do the same for this. Now because this, I didn't even hit the pit, I'm going to start at the center and just hold the mango like this, kind of dig my fingers in a little bit, and then push down until I really feel that there's some resistance from the pit. And again, I can just go around, clean this off, get that nice bit, those nice bits of flesh, keep those separate, and then skin that off. And I do a couple of these a day as it turns out. And if there's a little bit of flesh, you just turn it over and you kind of skim it right off. It comes right off very easily. So, and then you just keep cleaning, and so I can do this, and this I'm going towards myself, but I'm very used to it, and I'm going under the pit just to get the better angle, again, getting that flesh off. And until you've got the pit totally clean. I love it because everybody who I'm entertaining gets these beautiful little cuts, but I get what ends up being almost half of the mango flesh in the end of these little wonderful snacky bits that I just sometimes, even while I'm doing it, I'll throw them in my mouth. So there's my mango demo. I hope you enjoyed it.